welcome to this press conference, which will precede a rally, which is the launch of the Yes campaign nationally for Ireland for Europe. We will be joined today by colleagues from around Ireland who have responded marvellously and positively to our call to engage, and we have already conducted more than 20 launches outside Dublin in the course of the past 10 days, and will continue into next week until we have launched literally in every part of our country. It's my person of Ireland for Europe, Bridget Laffan, please, to address you.
Thank you very much, Pat. Can I also say that it's a great honour and pleasure for me to be here this morning, because this campaign really matters. It matters because there must be a people's campaign. We must put feet on the street, and we must campaign very actively and positively for Ireland's future in the EU. But what I want to address a number of remarks to the consequences of the EU. But what I want to address this morning is the dynamics that will be created in. They have done so because they see it as absolutely necessary to the challenges that Europe faces. So if we vote no, and this treaty is not an option for the governance of the EU, what's likely to happen? I think that the first and most significant dynamic is that you will have a well of frustration across Europe that here is something that is regarded as vital and necessary, and it's not available. And what then would be the outcome of that frustration? It's not that the other member states will be vindictive towards Ireland or vindictive about our future in the system, but what they will do is they will protect the European Union because it's in their interest to do so. And I would argue that very quickly, under enhanced cooperation, you would get probably a minimum of 9 countries going ahead in particular policy areas, and gradually and very quickly, in fact I shouldn't say gradually, very quickly you would get dynamics of Tier 2 speed Europe. And if we vote no, I have no doubt which of those speeds and which of those tiers Ireland would be in. So this is an absolutely vital vote for our future, and the only way we can guarantee our control over our future in the EU is by voting yes. That's all I want to say on that.
Thank you. I would like to introduce one of our patrons, Mary Davis. I will ask Mary to introduce.
And I just want to say good morning, everybody, and I absolutely agree with every single thing that Bridget said and more. And there are many reasons why I would vote for the treaty. I work and live in Europe, but I also work throughout the 27 member states at the moment, and I see the impact that a no vote would have. But the key for me and to my decision to vote yes would be provisions of the Charter for Fundamental Rights. And the Charter for Fundamental Rights is part of the treaty. It sets out fundamental rights across 54 different areas, including dignity, respect, equality, justice, fairness for all. And with the passing of the Lisbon Treaty, the Charter will be enshrined in law. And that is when I see people being marginalised every day. And if the EU, through the passing of the Lisbon Treaty, can provide better protection, better cooperation, then that's where I want to be. And I'm a woman, and when I look and see the amount of women and young children that have been trafficked in Europe, 500,000 women and young children in the last 10 years like that, and for many more. The fact that we will bring people together, the fact that it will ensure better cooperation, the fact that it gives us better protection, and it looks after the more vulnerable with disability, and many other people that are marginalised. That's the reason I'm trying out here this morning.
Thank you, Mary.
I'm kind of a business guy. I just don't know. And I'd like the Irish people to put themselves in this condition, and I know that they're in this condition already. What's in it for me? That's all we need to address here. What's in it for me? And what's in it if we don't vote a yes for Lisbon? Now, a lot of this begins off with where we are geographically. And you saw Mr. Putin turn off the gas twice, 2 Januaries in the last 3 years. Now, we need to run all our industry, to heat your houses, to make this country work like we've got used to it and the high standard of living that we have. To make all that happen, we need Europe, and a fully cooperative Europe. We need a common European energy policy. If we're going to be getting our gas from Russia, and that's a fact of life because the North Sea is running down, it's going to be gone by 2020. If we don't actually get Germany and France and Britain and Holland and Belgium and these other countries to work along with us to make sure we've got our supplies of energy for the future, business in Ireland will go elsewhere because it won't have the primary energy. That's one very important point that I want to make here today. We in Ireland depend on our colleagues in Europe. Gas arrives here by pipeline, and we're intimately bound up with the core of Europe to get that gas to us because we don't have, well, we've one little field ourselves, but we can't run our country on that. The second big thing about the vision for the future is that this treaty allows Europe to intervene in energy matters, because all the other treaties that have been mentioned up to now doesn't give Europe the power to intervene on the energy front. And, you know, what does this intervention on the energy front mean? Well, I set up a company called Airtricity. That gave employment to 500 people. That created 500 jobs around the world, right? I couldn't have done that unless Europe had promulgated a directive called 9692 EC, which said, you're going to open your market and you're going to have a competitive electricity system. And I was able to build Airtricity because Europe actually gave me that capability. That policy only for Europe. Europe means freedom for our families, freedom for our boys and girls to be able to work here and not to have to leave. Because if we aren't able to attract inbound industry here because we're not able to guarantee them stable prices for their electricity and availability of the basic energy things like gas, if we don't do that, we will lose them. And we lose them actually to our EU colleagues over in Poland and Slovenia and Slovakia and so on. Now, the last thing I want to say in this part here, and we're available obviously for questions, is that when you look at what Europe has said, and it's making us here in Europe make 34% of our electricity from renewables by 2020 and from renewables by 2050. Now, Ireland stands to gain enormously from this, and unless we were forced, I can tell you this, and here I have to criticise all the narrow-minded politics. My colleagues, of course, here, am I right? But the fact is, if we don't do this, we're not going to stabilise our prices. We have enough wind flowing over Ireland to power Ireland and a lot of the rest of Europe, and we have to get using that. Without Europe, by the way, this is all a pipe dream. We'd be an uninhabited rock off an island, off the mainland, if we cast ourselves free from Europe. Thank you.